Greetings and welcome to the Warhammer 40,000 Kill Team video, where today I'm going over the winners and losers from the World Championships of Warhammer October 2025 balanced data slate. But before we get into things, please remember to like and subscribe as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video, if you found it useful and helpful. Remember, I've got a Discord you can check out for free in the episode description below, an affiliate code at Games, an affiliate and discount code at Crossfire Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. But let's get on with today's video. So yeah, today I'm going over the winners and losers from the balanced data slate. This is kind of more of an in-depth look covering factions that were and weren't directly affected by the balanced data slate, going how that all falls out together. But basically, it's, you know, with the balanced data slate, we finally had huge buffs and nerfs to multiple kill teams, kind of like what we did with the first two balanced data slates for this edition, because the only downside was the last balanced data slate we had basically did hardly anything. It didn't really affect the meta. The top teams were just tapped slightly, and we didn't get any buffs. But this time we've seen huge buffs and nerfs to multiple kill teams. Technically, it's only for the World Championships of Warhammer in November, in about 2 weeks' time. So this time, it's not fully finalized. It was just what could be shown to the players. So things may change when it fully goes to the app, but I doubt too much will change. And we're still missing FAQs. So we may get FAQs soon or like separately, but we don't have a lot of answers about frequently asked questions, mainly about TAC-op interactions, specifically expendable, because Games Workshop has unintentionally made expendable too strong with these brand new TAC-ops. So we need some clarifications there, but we have nothing, sadly. But otherwise, let's get on with the buffs, well, the winners and losers. So for no changes, these are teams that really got nothing and didn't change at all. So you've got Deathcore, they're still in a great spot, they're just fine. Wyrmblade and Hunterclade, both very strong teams which have done well, which is, in my opinion, mainly just due to faction unawareness, but like lack of familiarity, but they're still very good. Corsair Voice Guards are still great, they're great at hunting elites. Mandrakes, still strong, not too strong, but in a good spot. Novitiates, showing their power with like experienced players, so they're, you know, they're still a bit on the weaker end, but they still got play. Imperial Navy Breachers, at first I was thinking like their damage negation needs to be minimum 3 instead of minimum 2, but they have kind of been owning that and just being completely fine. So they're still in a good spot. And then Plague Marines and Phobos Strike Team, both elite kill teams which still need skill to be played well, but have shown to be more balanced overall and have basically just been fine. Like they take skill to play, like they still have power as long as you know how to get it out of them. So overall, all of these teams have had no changes and are just fine. They're good. For our first set of winners, we have Bheta Decima. Map 5, it finally works. Just flip it around. Don't ask us, but it's like, it's just, you know, Bheta Decima will one day be playable without needing like an additional kill zone's worth of terrain. But otherwise, it's fine. Like, it's just okay. Like, the map works. I would be very shocked if people expect this to survive another season, and I feel for the people that still use Bheta Decima in any kind of entirety. Angel's Death are winners. So the captain got buffed. It has a new ability where it can now use your Doctrine's Ploy if you haven't used it. So people don't think this is that good. But as I said, this is mainly useful turning point 2 when you're playing a more cagey game. You don't expect your opponent to commit. So instead of spending the CP, you just go, I'll just bank it. And then all of a sudden, let's say like on your 4th activation, you find your opponent's within range, you go, well, okay, I'm going to activate, spend a CP for tactical, reposition, you're now within 6, I'm going to shoot you twice with balanced. That's actually really good, but basically the captain is now the best leader option when it was already the best. And then several chapter tactics got buffed, which I didn't expect. So like Resolute is now also ignores shock as well as stun, which is really good. Then you got Hardy, so whenever you're retaliating the first time a dice inflicts normal damage of 3 or more, it inflicts 1 less damage to minimum of 2, so very, very good. Sharpshooter grants accurate 1 in addition to severe, and then Siege Specialist means your opponents cannot provide a support, which is fine. Like, it's all pretty good. It's some nice buffs which we didn't expect. I still think it would be fine if they can use the Heavy, Intercessor and Sniper together. I think that would be completely fine. But otherwise, they're just 1 or 2 buffs of just being pretty good, but otherwise they're in a good spot. I think they're fine. We'll just see how these go, and you know, if they still underperform, then they can just buff them as needed. Blooded are winners. Your chieftain now effectively is always benefiting from Gaze of the Gods, whether it's in your opponent's territory or just has a blooded token, so it means you can be more defensive with your leader, which is very, very good. And then for the Enforcer, this is actually kind of a nerf, but the buff is now only active during friendly operatives activations, not all the time. But I believe this is just more for sequencing stuff, which means like when you're overwatching or counteracting, it's not really going to give you that effect, which is a bit of a nerf, but otherwise more utility from the leader is still amazing. Chaos Cult are winners. They got no nerfs and they're still great late game. So turning point 3 or 4 where you bomb the opponent with like 3 torments is still very powerful. They're quite difficult to deal with when castled up and generally find the new tac ops a bit better. Maybe the best horde team in the game, definitely tied for best, but they're in a very strong position right now and are a great selection if you want to play. Deathwatch are winners. Like, the Demolisher got nerfed, so it no longer stacks with the shield that slays, so it cannot be like minimum 2 damage anymore. But otherwise, you got no nerfs to special issue ammunition, so you can break the law, which Games Workshop loves to protect, and have Rending Plasma, Blast 1 Plasma, Devastating 1 Plasma. It's all totally fine, don't worry about it. And there was no like change to the timing of like the data manacles, that kind of stuff, or like reducing how many operatives get delayed, which I was expecting something to be done. But I feel like they've just nerfed that interaction to go like, we've nerfed one thing, we have nerfed Deathwatch. But otherwise, they're definitely tied for best faction in the game. Too many people, I think, are underestimating the power of 5 operatives. Like, we had Raveners dominate for so long and then are still dominating. People just, like, irrationally think 5 activations is bad. But when you remember with all their counteracting, they're still more like 10 activations and they can do 2 actions when they counteract. You know, they're a very, very strong team and definitely tied for best. Maybe the best, but definitely one of the top 2 kill teams in the game right now. Exaction Squad are winners. The Mallocator ability is now more useful for the kill team because it gives severe and lethal 5-up, so you have more chances to trigger crits. And then you can now use special issue shells twice per turning point. So against Space Marines, you can have 2 sources of piercing 1, well, piercing crits 1, and then into other teams, you now get more sources of Saturate and Blast 1, which is very, very good. And then especially when you're combining special issue shells with the Mallocator ability, you can really quite quickly focus fire stuff down, which is amazing. Like, the kill team just needed this slight buff. I don't think they're too strong, but I think they're just fine where they are operating that like in like the mid tier in terms of power. They're a very like still meta gamey like counter pick kind of kill team, but they're in a good spot. Hand of the Archon are winners, baby. We finally got our ceaseless rerolls back for defense and shooting. Amazing, that's what we needed. But we also got some other buffs. So Dens into the Night now works with light cover in addition to heavy, so you get more chances to reroll cover. And then the Crimson Duelist, the more I've been reading about this and thinking about it, the double fight is a buff, because before you could double fight the same target. But to fight them the second time, you have to be in combat with them. Now you can charge, use a pain token to go to free APL and to fight twice. So you can fight 2 different opponents, which is really cool. This is the problem Hand of the Archon had with like trying to get efficient double kills. Now you can efficiently do it with the Crimson Duelist, and now you can double hatchway fight, door fight. Very, very good. Overall, great winners. Hearthkyn Salvagers are winners. The Thane damage negation has been nerfed, so it's no longer any like damage of 4 more. It's just normal damage, so crits can really hurt this guy. Grudge tokens now work with Accurate, which is good. They should have to begin with. Raw defense now stacks even with rerolls, so you're basically more likely to, you know, save dice from shooting, which is good. The Dozer now has just inbuilt damage negation, so it's always minimum 3 damage it takes, like, which is great. And then the Kinlink now works like the Kasrkin comms, so it no longer requires visibility. You can still only do it once per activation, but that's really cool. It means your comms can just properly castle up, even like behind objectives, allows you to be more adventurous with certain operatives. But overall, these are great changes. Like, these are the kind of changes Hearthkyn Salvager needed. They're in an amazing spot right now. Hernkyn Yaegirs were winners as well. They got some buffs. So the main buffs was how resourceful points work. So you always get a minimum of 1, and you're always going to have a maximum of 3. Before, you could have a minimum of 0. But they are now more forgiving and flexible in their usage. So you can now use them during like after or before any action, so no longer at the start of your activation. So you can charge someone, fight, And then if you get that kill, you can go, cool, I'm going to spend my resourceful point to now shoot you. Or like, I'm going to shoot you. Oh, I've killed you. Well, now I'm going to spend my resourceful point to charge someone else and fight them, which is really good. And they are loving the Approved Ops 2025 changes. The new TAC Ops and Crit Ops are a lot better for them, and they're doing really great. Like, before this buff, like before this Dataslate, I would say they were the best of the Votann teams. I still think they're a bit better than Hearthkyn Salvagers, but they're in a great spot. Kasrkin are winners. Seize the Initiative is now basically a worthy cause, but better. So at the start of the firefight phase, you can do a 1 AP action, so you can like shoot, which is great, well, as long as you've got an engage order and that kind of stuff, so much better. Neutralized Target is even easier to trigger now if you want to get Relentless, which is better. Don't need to be scanned, like can either be scanned or not in cover. Cover Retreat now lets you change order before shooting and no longer needs to be a readied operative. So it's, even though it's going to be difficult to trigger, when you can, it's going to be much easier just to pull off that shoot action. And Relics of Canada, now works with fighting and retaliating too. So you get more chances to just punch up, which is very, very good. Does this make this kill team better? No, unfortunately, they still need a lot of buffs, but this is a great starting point. Like, they still need more buffs, unfortunately. The issue is, what do you do when Aquilons exist? Like, they're just better. But otherwise, Kasrkin are loving how it's going on for them. Inquisitorial Agents are winners. They saw no nerfs. I didn't think they would. They're still super flexible. You know, you can select any TAC Op you want, TAC Op archetype. They can still use Death Core at classified events, I think, for now. And they're just a very strong Horde team. Like, you know, you've just been generally flexing between Kasrkin and Exaction Squad, but they make use of like even breaches now. So they're just in a great spot. They're still difficult to play, but they're very good at shutting out key teams from the meta. Kommandos are winners. The Big Chopper is now 5 attacks, but loses punishing. The Power Claw gains shock, but you will always select the Power Claw because it's Big Chopper, sorry, because it's 5 attacks. The Boss Knob can now fight twice. So with 2 fight actions and 5 attacks at 5-6 damage, you're just going to murder elites, which was a big problem for Kommandos. The Daka Shooter short range has been increased from 6 inches to 9 inches, so you get more usage out of that. And Collapsible Stocks doesn't work on Daka Shooter anymore, but gives all other applicable weapons unlimited range, which is funny to just like added a bit of metal on it, and now it's like, now I can shoot further. But otherwise, Kommandos are in a really good spot. The double fighting knob is incredibly dangerous. It allows for more efficient 2-for-1 trades. And as I said, now when a Commando knob charges an elite operative, it's just going to murder it with those 5 attacks. Very, very strong. Ratlings are also winners. Scarpa now just works after every enemy activation instead of counting after every subsequent. So you go, you've activated, so I'll work. You still get a limited number of Scarpa dashes, but it's now way more usable. Purloined rations can now be triggered after rolling dice, so you don't have to use it preemptively. The Raider and Sneak are now Dev 2 on their sniper rifles instead of Dev 1. The Slingshot is easier to use, and the Sneak gains lethal 5 up when using optics. So you've now always got a reason to use optics just to go lethal 5 up for those Dev 2. So more chances to just ping off damage. Some great changes here, maybe a bit too much, but we'll see. Ratlings were like, it was weird. Before Approved Ops 2025, they weren't doing great. Then Approved Ops 2025 dropped and they started doing really, really well. So we'll see how that plays out for them. But otherwise, they're in a very strong spot. Scout Squads are winners-ish. Gunfire and Blade Ambush was combined into a single strategy ploy, which was amazing. However, Stealth Relocation was split in half with adaptable trading. So now you can either reposition or change orders, which feels kind of like redundant. I would rather they have just given us a brand new ploy. And then the Sniper now has heavy dash for the silent profile, which is very good. It just makes it more mobile. I still would have liked heavy reposition on the rocket and missile launcher, like the missile launcher and heavy bolter. But otherwise, some solid changes for Scout Squads. I don't know if it will punch it up, but you just get more usability out of their lethality with ambush. So we'll see how that works out for them. Tempestus Aquilons are winners. They saw no nerfs, like just RIP Kasrkin. No matter how much you buff Kasrkin, the issue is Tempestus Aquilons are just the better Kasrkin. They drop, they're more mobile, they have 11 operatives. You can't really buff around that without giving like Kasrkin double plasma and double melter. But otherwise, they're still a very strong kill team, great at hunting elites and do great into hordes as well. very good. Wrecka Krew are winners. Tanked Up finally works with charges, so when you do a charge action, it also triggers a +1 APL, so very useful there. Extra Armor is a weird side grade, I would say nerf. So instead of getting +1 wound, you get +1 save, but you're still -1 move. I'd rather you get both options for the -1 move. But otherwise, Wrecka Krew are in an amazing spot. That charge +1 APL is so good. They still can't move, dash, shoot, which is a problem, but being able to just open a door, charge someone, now you can fight is great. It means people have to respect them more, and they're not crippled by stun grenades. Going on to losers, we have ladders. Ladders are a bit worse. So you now must use ladders for the whole duration of the climb to benefit. So for example, the main thing is, let's say someone's put the ladder on one side of the wall, you then climb and then climb more of the building to use the ladder. It has to be there for the whole climb in your control range, so you can't just use it midway. So a bit of a nerf there. And then the smoke grenades no longer block piercing 1, and they downgrade piercing 2 by 1. This is actually kind of good for Vespid and stuff like that, but smoke's got enough instead of making stuns a bit more usable, which I guess is fine. Elites were really benefiting from this the most, so I guess it's kind of like a slight nerf to elites, but otherwise some decent changes for equipment. Battleclade are losers. They got nothing, literally nothing. They needed something, and I was very shocked they didn't get anything. I thought maybe they might have made their damage negation a bit more easier to trigger at the cost of it, like reducing less damage, or making sure like they can still network counteract after going on guard, something like that to give them a bit more help. They're a very weird kill team, as in they're quite powerful on paper, and they're very good into teams. They out-activate, except for fast ones like Raveners. So it's very interesting, because the problem is, like, if you do buff Battleclade too much, they become too powerful, but they definitely need something, and unfortunately they got nothing. Blades of Khaine are losers. They got some nerfs, so the Shriek that kills has been reduced from 6 dice to 5, so it's a lot less likely to trigger a crit, but still has something like a 60% chance. And then Reign of Tears can only fall back now, so you can't do the dash no matter what. So if you want to like fall back, you have to leave the operative alive, which is a choice, but just a slight nerf to Banshees. Will it be enough to nerf the like lower the kill team? Maybe, maybe not, but overall they have lost some utility from Howling Banshees. So yeah, Blades of Khaine are a bit of a loser this time. Brood Brothers are also slight losers. The Icon Ward has been reduced to 4 inches of range, so if you want, it basically can't cover 2 objectives anymore for the +1 APL, so that's a bit worse. And the Magus can still ±1 APL from visibility, which is still a net buff. So overall, the team is like a slight loser. It lost some utility, but Brood Brothers are still great. They're a very strong Horde team. Canoptek, they're weird losers, I would say. The Geomancer can't be 4 APL anymore when on the Matrix, or Matrix. The Reanimator can only heal once per turning point. The Tremor Glaive Quake was downgraded like the Shriek that kills, so it's now only 5 dice from 6 and is only 1/2 damage from 1/3, so basically exists to try and fish for stuns. Dimensional Banishment now sends everyone to the Shadow Realm, no matter what role you have. So that's actually a huge buff for the kill team. Like Frenzy like Fellgor were an issue before. Now, when you could just banish 2 goats a turn, it's not really that much of an issue anymore. Nodes are also even worse on Gallodark /2 mode. It's very confusing. So the FAQ says you can't measure nodes between walls, but you don't measure the node. But because of the way they've worded it, they've now basically implied that you can't draw the matrix through walls, even if there's an open hatchway and they're within like 6 inches measuring around the open hatchway. So basically, I'm now playing as if there's any walls intervening, it doesn't trigger, but it doesn't make any sense. Like Games Workshop it feels like they purposely chose the worst wording for this FAQ, but otherwise it means they're just hardest to play on Gallodark for now. But they are probably still the best faction. Like they are definitely tied for best with Deathwatch. They're incredibly strong. Like what the kill team still needs is probably turning ceaseless defense dice to balanced defense dice. And then also the warriors, either they don't do damage on death, or you can only bring back 1 a game. And then that's probably enough to tone them down. It's just, you could even reduce crawlers, probably by 1 or 2 wounds as well. And I think that's all they need. But I will give Games Workshop credit where credit is due. For kill team, this is the most a kill team has ever been touched, like after launch. This kill team has only been out for about 6 weeks, and this is the most severe nerfing we've seen for the game's history, which is very good on Games Workshop's part. Like 40k, obviously, the most they've done was with Votann, where in pre-release the team got, like, the faction got massively nerfed. But it is a testament to how questionable their rules design is at the moment, where a team 6 weeks after release gets the heaviest nerfs they've ever given a brand new team, and is still probably the best team in the game. But it's better than nothing. Fellgor Ravager are losers. Unfortunately, you weird little space goats. Frenzied operatives basically can't do any unique actions, sans the Vandal, so that's a bit unfortunate for them. They're just angry goats when they're frenzied, and for example, the leader now can't call the attack while frenzied. He's just too damn angry to coordinate attacks. So they are a bit worse. Obviously, the thing is, if you don't frenzy them, they're still very difficult to deal with, and frenzy itself is an inherently badly designed mechanic. But otherwise, Fellgor are slight losers. Gellerpox Infected are losers. They were nerfed due to the success of one player, which is bizarre, really, when you think about it. And then Rust Emanations is now effectively useless. If your opponent rolls free, like exactly a free to strike, then it does nothing. Like, what are they supposed to do with teams that hit on 4s and 5s? Just go like, oh well, that's fine. Like, if it was faction-wide, you go, okay, but this is only for the Nightmare Hulks. They've effectively deleted Rust Emanations, and I'm not sure how this kill team is supposed to deal with, like, elites, which is very strange. It's just a weird targeted nerf. Almost feels like they were like, just delete the faction. We didn't like one person doing too well with it, so just remove it. Goremongers are losers as well. Rake now only triggers during friendly operatives activation, so you can't use it on counter actions or in the strategy phase. Gory Tenacity is now to a minimum of 2 damage, which helps with Horde teams, so it doesn't do a minimum of bloody 1 damage. Aspirants can only charge after killing for free once per activation, so you can't have them like multi-charge multiple operatives after getting all those chain kills. And the Inciter only triggers bleeding tokens with its auto pistol, so it doesn't trigger it from Rake or frag grenades. So their bleeding token generation has been toned down, like Gory Tenacity has more counterplay, Aspirants can't chain charge. Like, they're still very powerful and a very gatekeepy faction. They just don't like Deathwatch at the moment, really, and technically Canoptek. But otherwise, Goremongers are still losers, but they're a great gatekeeping team into Hordes. Hierotek are huge losers. They have effectively been deleted from the game. Now, they're not trash, but it's so hard to play them now. Magnify now needs visibility to target the friendly operative and enemy operative, just like it does for Brood Brothers and Ruthless Coordination. So I think that's fine, that makes sense. You are now a kill grade 5 kill team and go up whenever a friendly operative is incapacitated. It never goes down. This is bizarre. Why not just make them kill grade 8? Maybe this was a typo and they're gonna fix it. But otherwise, they need to fix it, because against Hierotek, you're always gonna max the kill up, which is absolutely bizarre. Like, as I said, a viable method is taking kill up as primary into Hierotek and just going, well, I've killed 5 of you now. There's 4 of you left on the table out of your 8 operatives, so I've got 9 on the kill up because it's my primary. No one wanted this. Chronometron only works for shooting attacks, so now melee has counterplay, which is good. It was too strong. The Despotarch can't command itself to give +1 APL to itself, which is funny. And then Reanimated function has no effect with Martyr, which is very weird, and it really should. But otherwise, like, the problem is Hierotek still have the ability and power of the Chrono Monster, but it's just how devastating being a 5 grade kill team is, and the fact your opponent is always now going to get 6 on the kill up versus you, which is just weird. No one wanted that. Just at least make them just kill grade 8 as normal. Like, it's just very strange. But unfortunately, Hierotek Circle are huge losers. Farstalker Kinband are losers, unfortunately. They really needed some kind of buff, anything, and got nothing. In a theoretical world, they're probably the most powerful kill team by always maxing the crit up and tack up, maybe, I guess. But they just die. They can't kill. And they struggle into all main gatekeeper kill teams at the moment. Like, Goremongers will just eternally be a problem for them. Raveners, Deathwatch, Canoptek, So many kill teams are a problem for them, and like even elites in general. So I don't know, Farstalker really needs some help, but they've got nothing, unfortunately. Legionary are losers as well. Mutability and change got nerfed, so you can go to 4 APL as a Tzeentch operative, but then you can't repeat any action more than once. So you can't double shoot or double fight. So you can't do crazy stuff like charge, fight, fight, shoot, like shoot, shoot, charge, fight, shoot, shoot, move, mission action. It's basically you can charge, fight, shoot, mission action, move, dash, shoot, mission action. It seems Games Workshop just doesn't like 4 APL existing, at least on good operatives. So, because you still got stuff like the Scout Squad leader who can get 4 APL. Maybe they would have found out now because I've said it, and then the Scout Squad leader will lose that. And I know there's someone else who can get 4 APL, but otherwise it's just kind of like depressing. Nemesis Claw also loses. Voxcream has been reworked, so it now needs visibility and works on a dice roll, where you have to roll above the enemy operative's APL, but then if it doesn't work, it doesn't get refunded, and well, the CP gets refunded, but you don't get to use it again. So I think you should be able to use it again if it fails, but at least it no longer costs +1 CP every time you use it. So it was too strong, Voxcreen was too strong, now it's too random. And I know it fits with like how the vibe of Konrad Curze and his Night Lords, but I think you should be able to reuse the ploy if it fails to work. But otherwise, you know, unfortunately Nemesis Claw were doing really well despite the nerfs, so they'll probably still do really well. It's just a shame Voxcream has been treated in such a way. Pathfinders are losers. Games Workshop, please remember this team exists. Darkstar aren't even out yet. Come on, please. Give them some kind of buff. Like, look, I know they're going off of rotation. Like, just give them something. They got nothing. Please, they're doing so badly. Just give them something. Raveners are losers. Synaptic Link basically only works turning point 1 and 2 now if you want the extra command point. It's more likely to fail or inflict damage now, which I think was a trade-off because before it was just automatically giving Raveners +3, +4 command points. So a nice change there. Rive Out of Sight now only works as the name implies. It's not Rive into Sight. You know, even in the blurb, it's like, Raveners use us to get away. So it's like, Ravener players like, they've stolen our key ability. But no, it now works as the name implies. But there is a nerf to now how Raveners play. So they have to be more cautious with how they hide. And Tunnel now works on any kill zone. But overall, a slight nerf to their defensive hideaway play, which is good for the game overall. Sanctifiers are losers. The Sermon now only reduces damage from a minimum of 3 instead of a minimum of 2. So now you have less, basically, marine equivalent stats for Sanctifiers. Rally the Flock and Lead the Procession both require visibility at the start. So you can still start with invisibility and then end outside of visibility. But it basically means you can't just like yell people and then trigger people moving from like anywhere on the kill zone, which is more nerf on Gallodark and when you spread out too much on Volkers. Ecclesiarchy Tex only works on 3d6 now instead of 2d6, which is basically a way to nerf it without giving less wounds to the Orator, which is a choice. The Cult Icon range was reduced to 4 inches like Brood Brothers. The Drill Abbot range was reduced to 4 inches from 6 inches, but still keeps all abilities, so still incredibly powerful. Preachers must control objectives for Defender of the Faith, which in my opinion makes sense. They should be controlling instead of contesting. And then Conversion Field no longer reduces piercing. As I said, this should probably have gone down to 4-inch range and with the piercing ability, but I can see why they wanted to remove it. But Sanctifiers did get a ton of nerfs. Now, funnily enough, some Sanctifier players did say the kill team was dead, but then after playing with the kill team, they realized, oh, if you're still skilled with the kill team, they're actually still really powerful. So it is kind of testament that they needed all these nerfs and are still very strong. I think unfortunately, if you were a bad like Sanctifier player and didn't really get the usage out of the team, like you were only really doing well with them with their prior rules, just put some more time in the kill team. But they are losers, right? They're much harder to play. They're less forgiving, but they still have a bunch of powerful combos. But overall, they are losers. Vespid Stingwings are losers. We saw no buffs, despite, you know, still consistent underperformance. Like, you know, they did have like 1 or 2 months where they were doing okay, but it's like, come on, please, just give them something. Why can't we be bees? We could have been bees. But anyway, I would have liked like just 1 or 2 small buffs, or just something to make them more usable on Gallodark/Tomb World. Like even just saying they can fly through open doors and hatchways. That would help so much. Like that would have been something, but unfortunately they're still losers. You know, the smoke grenade nerf helps them, but it's still not amazing. Void Dancer Troupe are losers. Hallucinogenic grenades are now Seek Light instead of Seek. Blades are now 4/6 instead of 4/5, but lose severe. Panoply of the Harlequin now only reduces piercing by 1 and doesn't work at all if any crits are retained. So piercing 2 is going to do piercing 1 or piercing 2, which is rough. They probably didn't need that change. And then the Curtain Falls no longer allows a dash option like it does for for Harlequin, not for Harlequin's Blades of Khaine. So Void Dancer Troupe, like yeah, it's a big nerf. They didn't need all these nerfs. But I still think they're quite powerful. They still have a lot of play with like their free command point usage, so players can be quite deadly. And you still have about a 60% chance to roll a crit on 5 dice. So they have a very good chance of just proccing that 6 damage. And I think at 4/6, they're actually better than Harlequin's Kisses now. Like, I'm not sure why you would ever pick Kisses. But overall, they are losers. They have taken quite a big hit. I would have liked something in return, like being able to climb for 1 inch, but unfortunately this is the state they are in now. Warpcoven are losers. They got the legendary -1 operative. They can no longer select double gunners. Like if they could at least do that, that would have been fine. But sorcerers now get +1 wound all the time. It's a really weird choice. I don't know. I like the kill team is still good, but they're a very weird 5 operative kill team. Like, I think now you always have to go 3 sorcerers and then 4 Zangor, which is just strange. It doesn't feel right. I think they could have done something else instead of -1 operative, or something a bit more forgiving, like maybe -1 operative by making the Zangors compulsory. They're just in a really weird spot at the moment. Like, they're still powerful, but I'm not sure how powerful they are at 5 operatives, so they're losers overall. Strike Force Variel are still losers. They're still dead on arrival. Like, I remember them. They're fallen, but not forgotten. I guess we're waiting for their official release. They have been released in the stores, but look, Variel, I remember you. I'm going to give you a hand up. I'm not going to let you sit on the floor fallen. So for the overview, huge buffs and nerfs, but still not finalized, so we still could get some minor changes. Remember, this is just, they sent out early for the World Championships of Warhammer, which is in about 2 weeks. Overall, we saw from when, like, this is what I like to do, which you can more easily do with the winners and losers video. You can actually see like design trends by Games Workshop. So looking at the design trends for this balanced data slate, we can see that anything that was 6 dice with Seek Light was reduced to 5 dice, and its damage was reduced to basically 1/2. So they're like, look, if you're Seek Light, you're just doing minimal damage, especially if you have stun. The attack exists to try and fish for stun, which I think is good. They targeted anything that could do a free dash during combat, in terms of like on kill, you can either fall back, or like on kill you could dash, or if you leave someone alive you fall back. They're like, nope, that was too powerful. So instead you can only fall back if you leave them alive, which gives your opponent more counterplay. And then they targeted the 2 most powerful sources of 4 APL by making them 3 APL, or basically hurting them really hard with each Legionary. So there was some interesting design trends. We also saw like anything that was a cult icon, apart from Wormblade, was reduced to 4-inch range, which was a choice. But overall, I think the meta is actually in a pretty good spot. We still have some issues with like gatekeeper design teams, but also like some teams weren't buffed, like Elucidian Starstriders. Oh my gosh, I forgot to put in Starstriders. Starstriders are losers. Sorry, I thought I put it in there. They saw no buff. So if you're an Elucidian Starstrider player, I remember, I just forgot to put it in the slides. Oh my gosh. But yeah, you know, Vespid, Elucidian Starstriders, they didn't see any buffs, which is unfortunate. Gellerpox got nerfed because of just 1 player, which is weird. But otherwise, it's like, the meta is a lot better. Approved Ops 2025 is showing to be much more interesting for the game overall, with like more interesting and interactive crit ops and tac ops that aren't auto scores. But Canoptek and Deathwatch are still problems. They are Definitely signs of power creep, whether intentional or unintentional. Canoptek still need a few more nerfs, like as I said, Ceaseless Defense dies to balance, and then Warriors probably losing the damage on death, or you can only bring back 1 per game, and then probably lowering the wound pool of crawlers by 1 or 2 wounds. And then Deathwatch, like special issue ammunition, the timing on their manacles, and then also like their delay. They still, like, once those 2 teams are toned down, we'll actually have a really healthy meta, pending like upcoming releases. Who knows how that will shape up. And we're still missing clarifications on mainly just tac ops now. Like, we need to know how Expendable interacts, because as I said, part of the reason why Canoptek is so strong is because of how powerful Expendable is at the moment. We don't know how it fully interacts with all the tac ops, and we really need that clarification, because it also impacts teams like Wreckers, Kommandos, anything with an Expendable operative, because it feels like Games Workshop unintentionally or intentionally made Expendable way too strong. So we just need how it clarifies and interacts with those tac ops. But overall, like, this is been a great change. It's given me a lot of rejuvenation to play in the meta. I think like after Worlds, I'm probably going to switch to either Wreckers or Hand of the Archon. Very tempted by both. Like, I've got a fully converted Hand of the Archon team I need to finish, and I'll probably finish painting my Wrecka Krew as well. Very interested to see how that plays out. And obviously, we should have another balanced data slate either in January or February. So it depends when the official one releases. But otherwise, more changes like this. This is great. We saw an extensive slew of changes. It does suck that a lot of teams leaving the like classified, yassified system have seen their biggest changes just as they're about to disappear, which is unfortunate, like Kommandos. Can you imagine if Kommandos did this on like their first balanced data slate? We would have seen Kommandos played way more, and then you see stuff like Void Dancer Troupe getting nerfed, and it's kind of like, oh, they're leaving like this. And then you even got Pathfinders who are just like, oh, they're just really pretending they don't exist until Darkstar come out. But otherwise, this has been a great balanced data slate, and I'm happy with how it's shaped the meta overall for the majority of factions. But that's pretty much it for me today. Please remember to like, subscribe, as well as comment. Let me know what you thought of today's video, if you found it useful and helpful. Let me know what you think of the changes. And remember, I've got a Discord you can check out for free in the episode description below, and a affiliate to Element Games, and a affiliate to Discord code at Crossfire Games, and a Patreon if you want to give me some more support. And I'm just going to shout out my patrons. So for my adults of the crew, I have Ruddy, Vadim, Alexis, Alex, Marshall, the Houston Toad, Dan, Amorphium Dragon, Fangzu, Lucas, Chris, Graham, Tom, Mr. Meatwad, Dada Goldens, Nick, Super Cow, and then for my veterans of the crew, I have Ramus and Rolling Zero. So thank you so much for your support. It really means a lot to me and helps support the channel. But yeah, one video this week. I've basically recovered from my sickness. You can tell my voice is basically starting to go now, but I'm actually a lot better. I've been doing some painting, playing a lot of Dawn of Wars. I've just finished Dark Crusade, so I'm going through Soulstorm with my Drukhari because I've been reinvigorated by my Hand of the Archon buffs. But yeah, you know, just chilling out a bit. We got Worlds in about 2.5 weeks, and then after that's all done, I can take a nice break from competitive kill team for a while. But it's good to see a balanced data slate like this. But remember, no matter whether your kill team is a winner or loser, you always have a chance to win as long as you can roll a crit.